honestly not much. But again, it's not a dig at the other podcasts that are out there and growing. They got to do what they got to do. And I'm still going to be a listener. So
Yeah, totally. I love podcasts, so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this.
yeah, well, awesome. Thanks again for being willing to jump on. And just to get started, would love to hear about you and the company and where you guys are at, and then we can get a little more tactical.
Yeah, I'm Tony. I run a company called Landing Rapid. It's my second SaaS company. So I sold my previous company 3 years ago. That was like a social marketing platform, you could call it. But the idea of the previous one was to gather social proof from social media, then display it on a website, digital screens, different places where you can show your customer's voice. But that one kind of, we were in a crossroad in one way or another, that we either had to raise funding or maybe buy another company or expand our offer in one way or another. We were running it as a self-serve business, so it was like a people coming in through organic Google ads and so forth, and no sales team at all. And if we wanted to grow in that space, we knew that we need to expand this product one way or another. And then because this was 2023 or 2022, 2023, when we were thinking about that, you might remember Elon taking over Twitter and the changes in general when it comes to social media. Back then, AI wasn't, I mean, we were using AI in like the older models. ChatGPT wasn't even a big thing back then. Maybe the earliest versions were just there. But
It's crazy to call 2023 like back then. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, but that was the reality, that like we were building with some of the image generation, image detection models that nobody knows about them. Basically, they're just like useful tools, but not you wouldn't call them like you would call right now the AI. Anyway, so we decided that okay, let's find a new buyer, or let's find a buyer if we can, if there's interest in the market, and then sold that business. And now I'm running Landing Rapid. After I took some time off, of course, just not literally time off, but more like thinking plus helping others, working with other founders, and then decided to build this one because all those years when I was running the previous one, we needed a lot of content, whether that was blog posts, help docs, landing pages for Google Ads, and so forth. And we were able to kind of create them as the product was developing, but always struggling with the fact that website is behind the kind of the product and what we sell and what customers are asking and what we can do. And back then I thought that it's a problem, but right now with AI, when it's like just before this recording, I was building something, and I can build stuff like new stuff for the product in a like an evening or a day or something, and the product keeps going really fast. And the website is just like always struggling to keep up with the latest information. So I thought that maybe I'll try to build something around that, sort of like what would the website creation in a very efficient and agentic way look like in 20, that when we started 2025, but 2026.
Yeah, that's awesome. Before we dive into the business stuff, I'd love to hear your take on and just your experience with taking time off and using that time to think and help others. I think as founders, it's so easy to get stuck in this like go, go, go mentality, and you don't pick your head up for air enough to see the feedback that you're getting, maybe learn that you should probably go a different direction. Can you share more about your experience when you took that time off and what happened from it?
Yeah, I mean, selling a company that I had built in 13 years, so more than a decade, I was kind of like working, not the same, obviously it wasn't the same company for the whole decade plus, but it still felt like it's part of me and totally like my ideas and something that I wanted to build. And then just like a sudden stop for that was a unique experience, like having this moment when you are like full on founder working long hours 100%, and then there's the sort of like the moment when just before signing the final agreement, you have no idea if it's gonna happen. So like you're living this two kind of like, I don't know what is the two phase in one of the Batmans or so, like living like two lives basically. You're kind of like you're telling your team that this is the sort of like that you don't tell anything about the actual negotiations. You just like act normally, and then all of a sudden it stops, and you need to share the information and kind of build confidence that this is a good thing. But yeah, when I took the time off, I was planning to do a bit more, like in terms of like actually like take time off and do more sports and kind of like try not to think about work. But I found it quite difficult for me because I'm like, I've always been sort of like creating ideas or coming up with new things or figuring out how I can like, and that's part of my like, if I don't have a challenge to solve, then my life doesn't feel the same. So I
Yeah.
quickly found out that, okay, I need something to do. So I then I had some people in my network that needed help, so I started like helping like 1 or 2 days a week, nothing too serious, but helping others. That felt great in a way, like I was able to give some, some value. But then when you think about it from founder's point of view, part of the reason why you're a founder is that if something goes wrong, you want to fix it. Like you want to make a change. Like you want to change the direction of the whole company. And then when you're kind of like assisting a founder or part of their team, then you just have to accept that, well, it's not my, and they will make the decision, and then you have to live with that. And it's fine, but it's not necessarily something that drives me. So yeah, so then slowly I started like exploring ideas. I had a list of things from my previous company that were not great, and I've got tons of ideas. That's not a problem at all. But like, yeah, I didn't pick like a certain idea. I just started interviewing others and yeah, discussing with others that was this just our company and we couldn't figure this out, or is it something that others experience as well?
Yeah, there's so much value in taking a step back and talking with others and having real conversations about the true like problems that they're facing. This goes to something that you mentioned in our pre-show interview about live events and in real life stuff. I just talked to a founder before this that mentioned they hosted a conference and they had all sort of potential buyers at this conference. And through that experience, they learned so much that actually helped their next iteration of their product. Can you talk more about just these live events and in real life experiences and how they've benefited your company?
Yeah, so one of the reasons why I actually live here in London is that I moved here when I was building my first company, when I only had like a PowerPoint. And back then it was so helpful to have access to all these networking events and kind of like build that idea, discussing with others, asking them, hey, what do you think about this idea? And even if they were not your like our best prospects, but like just getting that feedback, that what do others think and how, like, because like often we founders, we might just be a bit too stubborn in terms of like we have this great idea and then we just keep building instead of discussing. So now that I'm building another one, I found out again that, well, at the early stage of your company, it might be really useful to be exposed by like different events, whether you organize them yourself or you just find those networking opportunities a bit more than what I, for example, in my previous company, towards the end, I was just like, I had so many like people around me. I had to deliver certain things, so I didn't have enough time for that networking bit. But I think it's really useful, and then I think it's connected now with AI, like in a strange way, that when I'm selling, for example, this tool that we're building, a lot of people are it's obvious that it's an AI like native tool. So it's like it tells already that, okay, the idea of the product is that it generates content for you, so everyone knows that, okay, this is an AI product. But then there's this sort of like skepticism or some sort of a disbelief that is this even real, or is it gonna be like slot machine, and people they don't really trust that it's gonna be good. So I think building those relationships through networking events and so forth is a great way to then find, the right people, and then have a bit warmer discussion where you can share that, yeah, this is not just AI slot machine, that this AI here is actually helpful in this,
Yeah.
but like the LinkedIn feed, Twitter feed, every feed is so crowded with all sort of like people saying that over the weekend I built this tool. Do you want to try it? And it doesn't really help someone else to sell the because every one of us who's actually building something know that during the weekend you can just like build something that works for a bit, but like it's not really a product. Yeah.
Yeah. That's such a great point. And I want to ask, on the digital side of the world now, is there anything that you found has helped you cut through that noise? Is it sharing more from maybe your personal page or building a personal brand to help grow trust? Is it freemium stuff and giving people a taste of what they could get? Have you found anything that works better than others?
Yeah, so I'm really surprised, like genuinely surprised by LinkedIn personal actually creating organic content. I never did that for the previous one. I was always like, and I can share why, but like I never did anything. I was like just doing the Google Ads, the organic, just being like I didn't show myself anywhere, talk about the product. But I've really enjoyed the especially the sort of like opportunity to get partners and people that are working somehow related to the same, either same customers or some similarities with the service. So those relationships you can build early, and it really helped me to figure out what to build. So I recruited something like 300 companies for our beta, just through the LinkedIn, nothing else. Like just like having discussions with people, sharing what I'm thinking to do. Not every one of them became obviously customers of ours at the end, but we're like every one of them gave me some feedback on like who could be the actual person to purchase this later. So that's been one. And then now I've started, which goes back to the face-to-face thing, but I've started to run these sort of like workshops for founders and advisors and consultants. Those are my kind of like go-to audience. So I've started to run these workshops where I interview the founder and then use that interview material as the onboarding thing for Landing Rapid. And I'm still building a SaaS, and I hope that it will someday become like a full self-service, because that obviously scales. But at the same time, it's kind of related to this AI thing, that a lot of the people that I discuss with, they say that they don't trust that even if they have AI, that they could somehow self-serve themselves. So I've just thought that, well, let's try to this kind of like, let's try to fix this by offering this one-to-one workshop thing, and that's working pretty well. We get like really good feedback. The founders or people that started with us are really successful straight away, and then also we learn what's the gap between like someone doing this self-serve and yeah, me helping them on the way.
I think that's such a cool way to stick out. And as you mentioned, this world where people are building products in a weekend, we know that most of those products probably won't be around for a long time, but to the broader audience, it probably feels very overwhelming that there's so much stuff out there nowadays. And I feel like what you're doing on the workshop side is something that, yeah, probably not scalable, right? But I'm just imagining the wow moments that you can get from that, where you're taking that interview and onboarding them into the product and showing them like, hey, here's what it could do for you. And I could see you creating so much cool content just from those experiences.
Yeah, totally. And that's been like, and it's been so inspirational, of course, as a founder, when you see someone go from that, okay, I'm not sure if this is gonna work, to the moment when they're like, did I, like the people are like, how did AI come up with this? And then I'm just saying to them that, well, you did all the work, like you were the one who was talking, and then they're like, okay, yeah, like it's because like what I believe, or at least I'm coding every day. I know how good AI is in terms of like it can speed up things, but it doesn't do much if you just like without any guidance, you just ask to do something, then it just gives you something. It's not probably there, but like those founders, when they get a chance to input their actual thinking, and then they see the results and they're like, okay, well, this actually works. Like there's a way to get this working at least. So.
It brings up an interesting thing for me, in that I think so many people nowadays are expecting AI to build for them this self-serving company, right? Where they don't have to do anything. They don't have to talk to customers or help them with anything. And I feel like one way to stand out is exactly what you're doing, which is like, no, I'm going to hop on the calls with my customers and actually handhold them a bit and show them the power of your tool, and just, I mean, the power of AI in general if you use it right. But I totally think that you're spot on when you talk about the term AI slop. I actually just wrote about this the other day. I was at an event, and some founders were mentioning AI slop, and they mentioned that if they see a company using just only AI and there's no authentic content or output being put out, they write them off immediately, and they don't even give them a chance again. So it sounds like you're seeing that as well.
Yeah, totally. It's like based on like it's been really hard actually, in my opinion, to kind of like convince someone if they don't know you to be like, yeah, I can really trust this service to do the job. So that's why I've invested a lot of time like building the personal,
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a personal brand, but like personal feed where the whoever is looking and seeing those posts, even if they're not related to my company necessarily, but at least that person starts to feel that, okay, I know this guy. And then when they like, a lot of people, when they send me a message through LinkedIn, they tell me that, oh, I've been following you for a long time. I'm like, good to know. And it's like they feel like, okay, I know you, or like they've got an idea who I am, and that might be completely false. Obviously, it's not necessarily who I am, but like whatever, they have that feeling, and that's what's matter. And then the same thing is like I've got some YouTube videos, so people come to, or they join the call with me, like a demo call, and they say that, oh, I already watched your video, so I don't need to do any demo of the product. I'm like, maybe selectively, if the discussion leads to that way, then I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, I can show you how that whatever piece works, but I don't need to go through like, okay, let's go through the whole thing right now. So those are the things that, like, yeah, in my marketing right now, that are completely different from the previous company, that where we were more like, okay, let's just push content, a lot of marketing out there, but still like stay behind the scenes in a way.
I think it's something that I've found too, is even if you don't have a lot of reach yet, you still never know who's watching. And I've been in similar conversations like you just described, where someone's like, oh, I've been seeing you all over LinkedIn. And I'm like, what? Like, but it's helped make conversations a lot more just authentic and more human. And they know, you go into a conversation with a customer and they know what to talk to you about because they've seen posting online. So it just makes the conversations a lot more fun and enjoyable. And it seems like too, what you're seeing is people are really craving that human side of business again, versus just coming across another AI company. So it feels like to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like you're really seeing the benefits of that more human side of building a company.
And I also think that it's this learning cycle for a prospect, that if I think about like a prospect 1 year ago asking me about AI, they had probably tested ChatGPT for their life, or some sort of life problems, and they might have tested something like work-wise, that it can translate, it can do this, it can create a blog post for me. But still, like, most people were like, oh, okay, I don't really know if there's anything to it. And the more there are people that have actually tried to like stretch the boundaries of it, like, okay, does this really like all the promises that it's gonna do your marketing and do your sales and whatever, the more people have experience with that, the more kind of the discussion starts to go around, okay, so what can we actually do with these tools? And so I encourage like everyone to wipe code their CRM during the weekend and whatever crazy projects they have, because that will then help me to, you know, sell another thing for them when they realize what it takes to actually maintain, build, you know, have it really nicely done. So yeah, I think in one way it feels like the tide is changed. Like there's a bit of this movement towards like, okay, well, we're still selling to other people. No matter what AI tools we have, we still, you know, we have the same kind of challenges. And yeah, like London is a great place for, like, you know, entrepreneurs here are very, you know, like at the edge of the you know, like, okay, where's the latest AI thing? So months and months ago there was a lot of OpenClaw was like booming everywhere, and events here. But now it's like it's really quiet, or at least it's not visible. And it's like one of those things that, like, the more people test how it actually works, then the less there's this hype that how revolutionary it is for the actual sales, marketing, getting your product out there. So
yeah, that's so funny you mentioned OpenClaw. We in downtown Detroit, where I'm right near, there was this huge ClawCon that attracted like thousands and thousands of people, and then it was like the next week you never heard about it again.
Exactly. It's like I was in this event where this guy was saying that he has 8 different businesses with the OpenClaw agents, and every one of them have their own Stripe account, and their only task is to figure out how to sell to like how to sell the product. And he's given credit cards them, and like he's not in control of any of them. They're completely autonomous. And like, so that's the kind of the you know, the other bit. And then, you know, there's the market out there that are like, okay, I couldn't care less about the AI. I just want to get things done. Like a lot of my clients, like all they care about is like, do they have meetings with clients in their calendar? And if they have, then can someone help me with all these other bits of the businesses? So they're not looking to you know, AI wipe code everything for them. They just care about that the business is running.
Yeah, it's more of, is this actually getting me sales, right? And that's so important. But I've seen that it's so easy to go down these rabbit holes with AI and poke your head up for air and realize that nothing you just did is actually helping drive sales for your company. You know, and that kind of leads to my last question that I have is there one thing that, when I ask this question, is there one thing that comes to mind on, is there one thing that you see founders doing wrong right now when they're building companies? And it could be around the way that they're using AI, but it could just be in general around their sales and marketing. I'd be curious if anything comes to mind for you.
Yeah, I'd like, my general take based on like looking at other founders, especially that are starting new projects right now, is that a lot of them focus so much on the building some sort of a demo product or so before they actually discuss with anyone. And then when they have something ready, they kind of like they are scared to show whatever they have. And then when they then show it and get a few people saying no, or a few people are like, okay, I'm not interested, or they don't really get like traction when they send a few messages through LinkedIn, then they automatically think that, okay, I've wasted so much energy on this. And that's how they probably feel, that they've kind of like, okay, I've invested so much in this that I need to seek for another, you know, like another product, another problem. I think it's like for me, like the best way to build this product is just like have an idea or a topic, and then go and explore and discuss with people that, okay, in this specific, like I knew for Landing Rabbit, I knew the only thing I knew that I want to solve this bigger problem of like, how do I build those pages? How do I get like sales and marketing done? But I didn't have any fixed idea of what that product is. And that's the, like for me at least, it's a better way of like, before you build anything, just discuss with people, then give them like I gave some people like a Figma, whatever, like mockups flow. Then we gave the next thing with my friend or co-founder, we built this sort of like prototype where you couldn't log in, and all you got was like basics of the onboarding, and then when you got the result you couldn't save it anywhere. So it was like a kind of like a dead end thing. But like we just tested that like a reverse demo style, that we asked people to join a call, go through that, and use it on behalf of us and tell what they think, and so forth, and kind of like experience that. And those moments, they give you so much more than whatever you want to build, you know, like or yeah, whatever coding work would ever give. So yeah,
I almost feel like with AI, the dark side of it is that you can go so deep with it as far as building stuff.
Yeah.
And it's making it so people aren't spending the time doing the stuff like you just described that is actually useful, where you're talking to real humans about their feedback and if they would even use the product. It's now so easy to go and build a full-blown CRM, like you mentioned, right, over the weekend, and not pick your head up for air and actually go talk to real people. So I think you're spot on.
Yeah, I had a chat with so I'm doing some mentoring for
Cool.
startups every now and then. So like it might be paid or non-paid. It doesn't matter really. I'm curious to help if I see that there's an opportunity. Like I've got some experience on specific topic. And one company was so funny. I was asking them that they've got this. If I'll try to describe it quickly, it's like a tool that you can if you have a construction project, you can easily record what's happening on the construction site, and you can use your voice and so forth. And then all it creates right now is like it takes those images, your voice note, and then it creates this PDF that the guy who's running that tour can share with the stakeholders, and he will need to do that weekly or even bi-daily or like often anyway. So he just gets that result. And then I was asking that, okay, have you guys thought about like, should this become like some sort of task management tool, or what you guys are like visioning this to become? And then they were like, yeah, we don't know, because customers are saying that the best thing about this is it's just so easy that they can just record that, and then it becomes the PDF. And it's like, yeah, it's like that's where you should start. Like don't mess it up right now, because you've got that that great product. So yeah.
That's so funny. I've had conversations with founders too, and even had those aha moments myself of like, wait a second, stop talking with Claude or ChatGPT about your business. Like you're having customers say like, this is your thing. You should focus on that, right? There's your answer.
Exactly.
Well, man, thanks so much for coming on. I'm sure people will find this conversation really useful. Is the best spot to find you, and I'll share it in the show notes, at LinkedIn, and then landyrabbit.com is your website, right?
Yeah, correct. So yeah, LinkedIn and our website are the best ones. But yeah, LinkedIn, I'm active. I'm like posting like 3-4 days a week. So people will find me annoying if they start following me.
All right, that's all right. Well, awesome. I'm gonna go ahead. I'll stop the recording, and then we can hang on here for a couple minutes.